To F3, and it is time for the Austria Grand Prix. It is round number 3, and we arrive here in Spielberg. I've already did the intro. Unfortunately, the stream wasn't working, but hopefully the stream is now. And last time out, we were the Baku Grand Prix when it delivered chaos and controversy, and it shook things up in the championship standards. It was Kaliag, and it was also Gatsu who won the race, but unfortunately, both dropped down due to a 5-second penalty. So let's see if they both bounce back, because an amazing result like that could have transpired things in the championship, but unfortunately got taken away from them due to that penalty. And they both still finished, had a good result in second, third and fourth place, but we'll see what they can do here tonight as Gatsu goes towards the top of the pecking order, 3.3, as Vessel, the man that finished in P2 at the back of Grand Prix, goes up into first place and takes a provisional pole. But my name is Joe Morris, and alongside me is Milan Langer.
Yes, we are back then here at Austria, and we're in qualifying, jumping in immediately, and like I said, Wessel already the early pace setter then with a 103.12 tenths clear ahead of anyone else at the moment, including our championship leader Gatsu, but he has done quite a decent bank up. His teammate down in P9 though in 103.5, only 2 tenths of a second behind his teammate, but there's 6 drivers in between the two of them. That is just how close it is and how close it will be around the shortest track on the calendar, apart from Monaco. But yeah, this track is incredibly short as Boti then goes quickest, and the first driver to go into the 1-2s already with a very impressive lap time indeed, 102.956 for the RB driver, and already putting himself 2 tenths clear ahead of the Mercedes. But there's more drivers out on track. For the Canino, it's about to start his flying lap. He was looking quite quick in the opening rounds of the season as he gets a bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 1, but still continues on his lap. I think he got pole position around Barcelona, so let's see what he is going to be able to do. 15.7 in sector 1. I think there's still going to be time to find for him though in that first part around this track, and just having a little bit of a moment through turn 1, but he continues on. Can he get anywhere near the time of Boti? Can he set himself inside the top 5? More drivers and more times coming in as Jerem goes to be 15 with a 1:10. So I think he can improve on that. Definitely he has made some sort of mistake around this lap time. It's quite good to see. We've already got 15 drivers, but a lap time normally it can be quite difficult to keep your car within the white lines, and we usually see quite a few invalidation, but so far and majority of these drivers have kept it clean on their initial runs. As the Alpine comes around the final 2 corners, and he runs a little bit too wide, and as I say that, he invalidates his run. It would have been a 103.3, which would have put him inside the top 5, but unfortunately for him, that lap will not count, as the Granddad in McLaren is lining up for another lap, I think, as well. And so is the other Alpine, who is on a flying lap at the moment, making his way through the middle part of the lap, through turns 6 and 7 to left-handers. I think the only 2 left-handers around this track, if you ignore the kink of turn 2, which really cannot be considered a corner. But now heading full towards those final 2 corners, where it's so easy to run out just a little bit too wide and invalidate. He makes nicely through the first one and the second one as well, and across the line he will go for a 104.1, putting him in P16. But if you look at that, the entire top 15 within a single second. It's so incredibly close around Austria.
And the Granddada is about to make his way down towards turn 4. He goes. He did pick up that penalty podium back at the Baku Grand Prix. He did the same thing back aside, so he's not officially finished the race on the podium just yet, although he's got 2. That's because of post-race penalties twice, so he'd dearly love to be on the podium on the track. But here comes the Wizard now, coming through turn 7 and turn 8. He goes up towards the crest of the hill before we flick our way towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. Had a DNF back at the Barcelona Grand Prix, but here he is towards the final corner, using all the curve he can get away with. His lap time is going to be a 3.5, and that pops him up into P10, just inside the top 10 there by a few hundredths of a second. So Bottas' lap time is almost the same as Valtteri Bottas in 2020. The pole lap time was a 2.9 something. I can't exactly remember what it was in qualifying, but a 62-second lap around here is not too bad at all, as Mercedes were very quick as well. They had a 5/10 gap over Verstappen in P3, but Bottas currently the only driver inside of 2 so far, and I wonder, can he remain there? We've got some people now on the flying laps and coming out on the circuit once again. I think Shining Diamond, who is up into P7, is now going to have or starts his potential flying lap then. So here he is coming through turn 1, and let's see how it takes. This can be very tricky indeed, because it's very easy to lose on the curve on the inside and on the outside. So we head towards turn 2. The flat out left-hander It should be easy, but of course that corner's not there in MotoGP. As we head towards the braking zone we go. Turn 3, it's important to screw off all the speed on the edge sheet, because if you don't do so, you go out wide and don't get the best extra you need. As we head onto the 3rd straight, downhill towards turn 4 we go. Another heavy braking zone. Easy to lock up the front here, as we see many people do from time to time. As he now heads out of turn 4, we go through turn 5, this flat out hander, bring it over to the right hand side, because you want to open this corner as much as you can, carrying the minimum speed. Don't really touch the inside curve, because it can throw your car off balance, but he's up by 63 hundredths of a second. It's shining down, you can see a little bit of rear instability there in mid-corner through turn 7 and turn 8, and now we're coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. Shining Diamonds only scored point once here, but he did score points back in Baku despite losing his wing on the first lap. He dropped down to last, then managed to finish the points somehow. Here he comes towards 5th place, and you know what, this is nice progress, slow but surely. Good progress for Shining Diamond, because when he arrived last season, he only scored points once, I think that was back in the Jeddah Grand Prix, but he's doing a really good job now, and he's slowly but surely getting there as well. So keep an eye on Shadow Dam. He could be one to watch out for as well later on as the season progresses. But on board with Felix One now, he crashed in Baku. He hit the pit lane entry very hard. Massive impact. He's 3,000 down from Paco in the pole sitter back at the Baku Grand Prix. But here comes Felix now, swinging towards the final corner. He goes, but Lawrence Stroll crashed in 20 something, I can't remember what it was, but here goes Felix One up towards P3 with a 3.53, and Felix One there with some great pace in the Haas, but he had a bit of misfortune back at the Spanish Grand Prix and also back in Baku as well, so hopefully he could hook it up here. On board with Paco in the Williams, and Salva was the one that won the Baku Grand Prix. Is Salva here? Yeah, he's down to P15 then, so a daily love to boost himself up the pecking order. Cedric goes up into P7 for high critical damage, and critical damage made his debut as well back in Baku, but he picked up that penalty towards the end and still finished inside the top 5, so it was a great race for him despite his problems he sustained. We've got a Haas who split out of turn number 8, I'm not quite sure who that is. It can't be Felix One, it must be Alex in P13. So unfortunately for Alex, he has gone for a little bit of a spin. Same place with Verstappen spun, I think, back in 2017. But here comes Paco now, coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. What can he do? Can he hook it up? Can he keep it within the boundaries of the white lines? He can. He makes his way now towards the line, drives to the line. He goes up into P6 just ahead of Oni Kitsune. Oni Kitsune has invalidated his lap time too for good measure, but Vessel is out there in the Mercedes. Let's see how he does as he now takes a low curb, launches himself in towards 9, in towards 10 we go, and there is a McLaren in front of us, but hopefully he won't get out of the way just now because he'll start a lap time. But here comes Vessel, goes up into P2, may have lost a bit of lap time due to the expense of the racing bull in front of him. Here comes Gatsu now in the Sauber, but unfortunately it's validated there in between turn and turn 10, and that lap time will not count, and it's such a painful thing to do as well because there's nothing you can do about it. You can't slow down and unfortunately save the tyres or save battery either, so that's the price you pay by taking too much speed through there, and unfortunately he's validated. I think back in 2020 was it 4-3 when there were so many track limit violations, but last year in Austria there was barely any track limit violations because I think they improved it with the gravel traps to the outside, so we didn't see quite a lot of invalidations. But on board with Botti in the racing ball then, here he is now coming towards turn number 7, goes a bit wide mid-corner there, but still hooks it up, doesn't touch the outside curve or grass or gravel should I say, but too much understeer encounter for the racing ball. He's 1/10 down in that middle sector, so he doesn't look like he's on for improvement so far unless he can find time in these final 2 corners. And downshifted 6th gear, a slight lift off, and now he fully lifts off going towards the final corner, but I doubt he'll find any more time with the racing ball as he upshifts quickly into 8th gear, and unfortunately for him he did not find the lap time he needed, and he'll still stay on pole position. Nobody can seem to beat him so far at this stage in qualifying Milan.
Indeed, and that concludes the second runs in this qualifying session. We'll have to wait until the other drivers will start to go out, but that is going to take a few minutes, I think, unless there's someone who's going to go out early with double the fuel so they can try and go for 2 runs if they make a mistake on their initial runs. But indeed, Botti still out on pole position, still the only driver to go into the 102s, and I just checked, and Bottas' his pole position time of 2020 was at 102.939, so 17 thousandths of a second is Botti away from, I think, what is the track record around this circuit, but who knows, maybe he can try and improve on his final run when the track ramps up, and he might get ahead of that time, and there might be more drivers who go into the 102s, but at the moment the closest driver is Vessel in 2nd place, and he's still around 0.2 of a second away from the RB driver. No, we saw him wouldn't say getting held up, he was in the dirty air of the McLaren at the end of his run, so he might have been able to improve, but definitely not 2/10 towards the RB driver. But we've got 5 minutes to go in qualifying. The Grandada is at the end of his flying lap, currently down in P14, half a second away from the RB as he comes towards the finish line. Let's see where this lap time is going to put him. 103.4 puts him in P8. Only a couple of thousands or a couple of hundreds behind the Onikitsun, and just a couple of hundreds ahead of Froliconim. It's so incredibly close around this track. Cedric starts his flying lap, and so has Alex just a moment ago in the Haas, who's down in P16, with Cedric in the Aston Martin making his way up the hill. He's only a few thousands behind critical damage, and Froliconim improves by 600 through Sector 1, so already a sizable improvement around a track like this, which could elevate him all the way up to P5 if he pulls this through for the remainder of the lap. He's down on P11, but only a half-10 improvement could get himself inside the top 5. That is just how close it is. Around the track, bit of a moment there coming out of turn 4, so he might have lost a few hundreds with that as he now makes his way through the middle sector. Let's see, has he found some more time is the question. He has 1.5 tenths up at the moment, so he could get near the time of Felix 1, maybe even ahead, and inside the top 3. Just needs to keep it in the white lines in these final 2 corners. Once again, there's a McLaren that is going into the pit lane, so won't be any in the way of the Aston Martin, who goes out wide and unfortunately invalidates, and it would have been a 103.301, but in the end he stays down in B12, and it is no improvement unfortunately for him. But there is more drivers out there who are improving on the rest there. They've all gone out quite early, it must be said, with still 4 minutes to go. The majority of the drivers are out on track, so I do wonder if there is rain coming or something like that, or they're all just going for 2 runs in the end. Geltsu in the kick Sauber is out on his flying lap. I'm not sure if he's up on his time at the moment, but he needs to improve to get himself up the order as he goes through that middle sector around this lap. He's up by 0.2 of a second. Great improvement so far from the kick Sauber, and he could get himself onto the front row if he completes this lap with this improvement. Just 2 corners remaining, and that is going through turn 9 and now down to the braking zone of turn 10 as he flirts with the track limits across the line. Will he get onto the front row? No, he misses out by a few thousandths of a second. P3 for our championship leader, but a great improvement regardless.
Oh, Evans spun the car, Evans spun, and he touched up his coming the inside there as well for good measure. So unfortunately he's gone for a spin, pushing way beyond the limits of the track there, and unfortunately for him that could be qualifying ruined. But Vessel is up by 25 hundredths of a second in the middle set, so as he revs it out through 6th gear, coming through 9, coming towards the final corner now. Can he keep it within the boundaries? He can't keep it within the boundaries, and this lap time would have been a 3.119, and unfortunately for him he lost time as well. So that's it for him, and qualifying then, it starts to wrap up as every single driver there starting their potential last flying lap, as you said before as well. Some people could be coming out as they might want to do a second lap just in case they must have their first lap. Look at Salvo there. He always splits the car in towards the final corner too, and that's his qualifying ruin there. So the man that finished the podium back in Baku, unfortunately down in P15, it could be worse for him. So the people who had a decent result back in Baku, some of them are falling backwards, and Tsunami out there as well, but not on a lap time. Urem in the McLaren Mercedes is coming through turn number 4 right now, but I think he's on the flying lap right now, so let's see what he does in the McLaren. But I think he had a decent result back in Baku as well, but here it looks like he's struggling around this short circuit. In the middle sector he goes down by 43 hundredths of a second there, so desperately needs to find some time. Lou in the Ferrari 2 is also struggling out there as well, and DNF back in Baku as well, so it's not been good for him so far. But here comes Jerome coming towards the final corner on the racetrack. Let's see where the McLaren driver can put himself amongst the mix of the field. Goes or stays in P18. That's it for him. And Tsunami's crossed the line right now, but he's going to start his last potential flying lap. The Williams of Fanatic Dragon is at the end of the first set there, so let's see how he does. I think Frank Cuneo is out there as well in the Alpine. Let's see what he does. He's coming towards the pit lane, so that's the qualifying done and dusted. Not really the climatic qualifying we thought it to be so far. Many drivers come out early just in case their last lap was invalidated and therefore going for one more lap. But on board with the Grandada as Frank Cuneo has retired in the pit lane then. So majority of people are retiring early in this qualifying session, having completed their runs prematurely before qualifying's ended. Here comes Grandada coming through turn 7 to turn 8 right now. Is he up? Yes, by 0.169 of a second there in the middle sector. This could put him into P4 maybe, or 3, depends if he can find more time. But let's see what the Wizard does as he makes his way out of turn 9, coming towards turn 10 then. Full commitment, full speed through these fast right-handers. As we make our way now towards the line we go. It's a 3.2, and he goes up into P4. What a mega lap time there. And settles in behind Gatsu in P4, as many people have retired super early. I don't think qualifying's ended just yet, as Tsunami faces the wrong way down the pit lane like Sebastian Vettel did back in 2016, where Vettel went too long on his ultra or soft compound tyres, and unfortunately for him, he sustained a puncture. And the two Mercedes went on to, well, Lewis Hamilton went on to win the Grand Prix, while Nico Rosberg finished in P4 due to a penalty and also having that front wing damage as well. But Verstappen, yes, it is raining then. Well, it's spitting on our screen there, but that indicates why people have gone out very early to avoid the rain to ensure they have the best conditions towards the end of qualifying as well. So that's why qualifying has ended prematurely, and it sees Botti on pole position. What another great job again for Botti. DNF back in Baku, but let's see what he does. Can he bounce back from the disappointment of Baku? He qualified last and DNF 2, and now he's taking pole. So what a statement there, from the low in the Baku City circuit to the highest here in Austria in the mountains, and we'll see if that transpires over to the race then. Great job again from Vettel. He finished P5 in Baku, and he missed out dearly as well, not having the pace towards it. He was on the medium compound tyres, and he couldn't push forwards because those medium compound tyres died too quickly for him, and therefore could not attack the guys on the hard compound tyre too. Whilst the safety car came out, I think there was about 2 safety cars that came out last week, but it certainly spiced things up and jumbled the order. And even the people that finished in first, second place didn't finish first and second; they finished in third and fourth. But it is Botti ahead of Vettel, with Gatsu in P3, the Grandaddo in P4 ahead of Falcunio in fifth place. Felix won in the Haas, great qualifier for him. Ivan, who started into the top 3 in Baku, in seventh place. Paco in the Williams is P8 ahead of Onik Kitsune. Alex rounds off the top 10, whilst outside the top 10 is Critical Damage, Cedric, Shiny Diamond, Kaliak, Salvo, Fanatic Dragon, so the Tsunami, and Yurem, Lu, and Lakitu, who will start down in last place as well. So Lakitu once again suffering as he DNF also in Baku and Azerbaijan. But it is then. F1 is back this weekend in Australia, but first we have MotoGP. MotoGP return back in Thailand. What an opening race that was as well. It was great to see MotoGP return, and I think it was Marco Bezzecchi who won ahead of Pedro Costa. And Marquez sustained a puncture as well. But here in Austria, we've had so many good races here in the past as well. It's always put on the show, has the Austrian Grand Prix, and that's why it's a special circuit indeed. But we'll see then what happens around here. 3 DRS zones, which means there's plenty of overtaking. The Austrian Grand Prix first entered Formula One Championship in 1970, and it was a circuit that carved into the steering hills that quickly earned a reputation as the most exhilarating and intimidating track of its era. The sweeping curves were taken at breathtaking speeds, with minimum runoff areas and a huge consequence for mistake. Early races were defined by slipstreams, duels, and mechanical attrition as well, as the engine was pushed to the absolute limits on the long climbs and flat-out blast. But we had the A1 ring back in 1997, as it was redesigned, shorter, tighter, and built around heavy braking zones rather than sweeping corners as well, with the new configurations immediately went wheel to wheel in 2001 when Pablo Montoya and Michael Schumacher banged wheels in towards Turn 1. And Turn 1 can be tricky, and we've seen plenty of instances there before as well in the past, and we're about to see what will happen here in League Racing 2. It's such a tight corner in towards Turn 1. We've seen plenty of people run off as well. But the Formula One Championship in Austria took a long hiatus from 2003 to 2014, and returned 11 years later, whilst both Williams of Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas locked out the front row. But they didn't win, unfortunately, because I think it was Rosberg who won, whilst Hamilton was P2. Hamilton went from 10th after he spun and qualified. So did Rosberg too. Both Mercedes had a shocker qualified for their standards back in 2014. But Rosberg went ahead of Hamilton, and I believe it was Bottas on the podium, or Massa, I can't remember who it was, but I know that Vettel retired as well. Ricciardo didn't have a good race either after Vettel retired in the opening laps with the engine problem as it was back then. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, Milan. I can't wait.
Me neither, especially with the tire wear around here. It can be quite tricky, so we might see a two-stop performance drivers because the tire wear is higher than most of the other tracks. And with 36 laps, it's going to be quite difficult to manage. But we're always going to see, I reckon, many DRS trains, especially in the early stints. They really don't want to attack as much, want to stretch those tires as long as possible. You might see the action more towards the end of the race, but the DRS trains are, You can see them quite often around this track, so expect to see them tonight as well. But I'm looking forward to what we're going to see. I think the majority is going to be starting on the mediums at the moment, and I can only see two exceptions of Fnatic Dragon and Frederick opting for the hard tire. So we'll see what they will do on the harder compound tire. But I'm looking forward to this race. Always an entertaining race in real life and in league racing as well. Like I said, 3 DRS zones, so many overtaking opportunities. So we shall see if Botti can convert his pole position into a race win. What can Galtsu do from P3 on the grid? Can he extend his championship lead? He's in a good position to do so, but it is so easy to get yourself in trouble, especially in the early stages of the race. We're all heading towards that first turn, which is just quite tight on the exit as well, not the braking zone, in towards turn 2 and 3. But here we go then for the Austrian Grand Prix.
The light's about to go away very soon here in Austria. Let's see what happens going down in towards turn 1. And now we are underway here in Spielberg. The Kickstarter in third place gets a lovely start. He's side by side with the Mercedes there. Gives a bit of a squeeze. But down the inside goes by the Mercedes. The side by side. But Gatsu gets a lovely exit. Around the outside of turn 1 he goes. Vessel's now tucked in the slipstream behind the Sauber as we climb up towards the turn 2 and turn 3. Towards the breaker, so we go. The Grandadder on the inside of the Mercedes going in towards the breaker, so we go. Is there any contact behind? We'll see then as the 2x2 going in towards turn 3. A bit of a swapper on for Vessel out there too as he tries to get past the Grandadder or stay ahead of him, which he does do. In the background there's plenty of battling, as you can see in the midfield, as we now head downhill as the Haas tries to go up the inside but can't quite make it stick. We've got a whole gang of cars in this midfield mayhem, and looks like these guys are trying to shove themselves and sort themselves up. It seems like a clean start so far. Every single driver gets away smoothly and cleanly too, for good measure. With the Aston Martin side by side there with the Haas, but the Aston Martin has to back out as a van gets past Felix One there in the most unconventional place. But Felix One has broke his wing, unfortunately. He's suffering with front wing damage, and as we've seen in the past before as well, you need front wing to have downforce, and we've seen both Red Bulls in the past too, of Bompure and also Nick, who broke their wings too, as they were running a good race as well last season around here, but they both broke their wings and they both were put on a strategy that wasn't going to win the race either. But we're on lap 2 then out of 36. Some people on the hard compound tyres I could see, and it is Franquinho and Ivan there in P5 and P6, as here comes Gatsu now. Is he going to draw alongside the racing ball? He is not, as he stays behind, but Onitsuka dives up the inside in towards turn 3 we go, as we see Ivan get forced off the track there by the racing bull that came at high speed. But Gatsu might make an overtake of Botti as we go side by side in towards the breaking. So we go, the two locked in battle. It looks like the Sauber has the edge on the inside there, forces Botti on the curb, and it gives him barely any space. But Gatsu takes the lead of the Grand Prix, looking to win after what happened back at the Baku Grand Prix. It was a Sauber 1-2. But they both had their race win taken away from them, unfortunately, as they finished in P3 and P4 due to a 5-second time penalty. But Van has been shuffled backwards into P10. He was up into P6 at one point, but I wonder if the hard compound tyres will generate the grip or the temperature he needs. As here comes Mercedes, all on the inside. They're not really a good place to go. It's so tight through there, and it's prone for crashes as well. It attracts many crashes if you go side by side, so you got to be very careful and cautious. But here comes the Red Bull on Felix One. I don't think Felix One is going to fight this much as we head down in towards turn 1. Salvo up the inside there, but Felix One hangs around the outside. These guys have been left out of this DRS train, and that's going to be very pivotal for this race too, because if they're outside the DRS train, it means it'll be so difficult to get themselves back in. Here comes then the Sauber side by side with the Haas up towards turn 3 now. That is Kaliag trying to go up the inside, but the Haas gets a better launch around the outside, and now he's in pursuit of Tsunami. That is Felix One, of course, so he's got better short line speed with the lack of downforce as we head towards turn 4. No space there, unfortunately. I can't remember who it was back in the past, but somebody tried to go around the outside there, and then went straight off the track as well in actual F1. Hello, Nick. How are you doing, mate? I hope you get a good race in F2. I think F2 is ended by now. We can see the understeer that Felix One has sustained in the Haas there, and unfortunately he's going to struggle all the way through until this first one of pissed up. But critical damage is almost within DRS range. He finished P5 back in Baku, but he picked up a 10-second penalty, unfortunately, and dropped out to the points there. So this could be a redemption for him, as we see the racing bull also suffering too. Who is that racing bull I'm on board with right now? That is going to be Onitsuka. Has he got damage too? Because it looks like he suffered understeer in that final corner. No, he hasn't. So just got plain understeer. The car just washing away from him with the dirty air and also the hot temperature tyres as well for good measure. So that's why he struggled. And Nick said, yeah, I had a Buns qualifying P2, but finished P7, so he's happy. Nice to see that Nick's happy. Good race for him. But we're on lap 4 now, and it is still Botti and Gatsu who control this race.
Onikitsu looking to go for the move on Faraconino on the inside with the help of DRS, gets past quite easily, and at front it is Botti back ahead of Gals. The two race leaders swap positions once more. The entire top 7 within DRS range, although as I say that, the move between Onikitsu and Faraconino has caused them to drop outside of the DRS range of the top 4, so Onikitsu needs to get a move on to get themselves back within that 1 second window. You really don't want to drop out, because you will lose out a lot of time, but they're trying to burn their battery towards the ground. I think they've done just enough to stay within DRS range then of the McLaren up ahead, so they can try and save battery once more. But we're going to lap 5 then of 36. Botti still out in front now with Galtsu behind. Let's see if these two are going to swap around once again like they did on the previous lap. Vessel is just sitting behind and watching, not really trying to get anywhere in any moves on the two race leaders, Grandada and in P4. Then Onikitsu just within DRS range as someone has gone off. It's Felix 1 in the Haas, who has spun out of turn 1, and his day has just become even worse after picking up front wing damage on the opening lap. He has gone around on the exit of turn 1, and I wonder if he did get helped or someone made contact with him through that first turn. But very unfortunate indeed, as he drops down all the way down to last place, and he is going to probably dive off into the pit lane and get his front wing replaced. As Shiny Diamond goes off into the gravel trap in towards turn 4. Way too optimistic, I guess, up the inside of Kalia. In the background, someone's gone off as well, and that is the Aston Martin of Cedric, who has gone off into the gravel down at turn 4. Something's going on in this race. Absolute carnage here on lap 5. But both Felix 1 and Cedric also with front wing damage for the Aston Martin since lap 1, and both their race at the moment going down the drain, down in 19th and 20th place. But at the front, it has remained quite calm with Botti and Galtsu and Vessel and the Grandada, and it's unfortunately hasn't succeeded for Onikitsu to stay within DRS range. The gap's now 1.2 seconds, and I fear that it will start to grow towards the top 4. Faraconino then in P6 once again. They're going side by side for the race lead. Botti up on the outside with Galtsu on the inside, as Felix 1 has retired from this race on lap 6. Here comes the Kicksauber up the inside with the help of DRS to get back into the race lead down in towards turn 4. And the fighting that they're doing right now is helping the likes behind, who are trying to close up as Salvo gets now ahead of Ivan to go himself up into P8, but he himself is also 1.9 seconds behind critical damage and well outside the DRS range, and the train behind him is absolutely massive as well, down towards Paco and P17 are all within the DRS range of the DRS train of Salvo down in P8 then. But at the front it is still now Galtsu ahead of Botti as we go on to lap 7. These two have been swapping around for the past couple of laps. The gap's now 0.5 of a second though, as we head on to the 7th lap of this race. But it's a triple DRS zone in a row, as Lou is into the pit lane already. Going on to lap 7, so is Paco in the Williams, definitely trying to go for an undercut, as they know they're stuck in this traffic at the moment. So they want to overtake that way. As for the Canadian, gets it back ahead of Onikitsu. The hards will start to get better than the mediums. Ivan back ahead of Salvo as well. Meanwhile, Galtsu I think is going to stay ahead then of Botti, but quite early pit stops for Lou, Paco and Fanatic Dragon. So something tells me I think they're definitely going to go for a 2-stop with the tire wear around there being that high, and they're now going for the undercut on the drivers ahead. So let's see how that is going to play out for them. But at the end now of lap 7, Galtsu still in the lead ahead of Botti, Vessel and the Grandada. The gap now towards Faraconino is 1.5 seconds, but he is on the harder tire, so he should be able to gain some time on the top 4 now.
Last season, we did see a one-stop and a two-stop strategy, and there were two winners, was Milan Diossi and Melvin as well. I think Melvin won just ahead of Milan Diossi, or it was the other way around, and it was a one-stop versus two-stop strategy. So I think around lap 11, 12, 13, if those guys decide to pit, then that could be a one-stop strategy. But Onikitsu then is in the pit lane. The guys behind in the midfield might opt for a two-stop strategy to try and bring the deficit down towards the end of the race. And that's what happens as well. The people at the front of the field might just extend their stint to go longer and longer and take track position rather than lose positions as well and try and hunt them down. But here we go down towards turn 3. Then this could be interesting now in this race to see where drivers end up in this field. But Botti and Gatsu are still going at it hammer and tongue. But the more these guys fight, obviously, the closer, the better for Falcuni. Was one of the hardcore power ties. He's moved up into P5 now, got some clean air in between himself and critical damage. So what can Falcunio do in P5 on the hardcore power ties? Watch out Van as well. Van's in P7, although he lost a lot of time in the first few laps of the Grand Prix. We'll see if he can try and gain some ground back on the guys ahead as well. Critical damage, just one in P6, is doing a mega job in the 402. Did finish in 5th place, like I said, in Baku, but unfortunately picked up that penalty. And look who goes off the track. Gatsu goes off the track there as well at the exit of turn 9. The mini compound tyres maybe started to reach the end of their peak performance. Oh! The Grandada hits the Mercedes in the pit lane, but luckily does not lose his wing or inherits a 10-second penalty as well. And the Saab in the background too may have lost a wing. He did. The Saab in the background, Kaliak, has just broke his wing, and he's just entered the pit lane then. So I really hope the Saab crew change the wing immediately, and that's not ideal because he's going to lose so much time in the pit lane, which he has. And here he is then, the Sauber team getting to work on the car, and they change the wing as well. He's lost so much time as Kaliak just enters the pit lane too aggressively. As we see these two swap then, it is Botti who gets ahead of Gatsu. The question is now for these two, are they going to respond on this lap? And we'll see if the undercut works. Has Vettel, has the Grandada played a blinder here as well to undercut these guys ahead, or will they try to extend this stint the mini compound tyres now? And this is definitely going to be a two-stop race around here in Austria too. I don't think maybe these guys might extend it towards the end. We'll see, but I don't think anybody else could be able to stretch unless for Acuna and Vandu. But in the pit lane comes Botti. You have to follow the white line there as well. You can't afford to cut it, otherwise you will get a penalty in this race. Even if you make a mistake as well, you've got to follow the rules and regulations, and that's what cost some people in Baku too. I think it was Gatsu who was the one that got caught out in Baku when he cost the pit lane exit, and that cost him the win dearly as well. Small mistakes like that have huge consequences for your race, but I think these two are okay now in terms of crossing the white line. So in the pit lane they come. It's going to be a hardcore part tyre. I presume one more pit stop is imminent as well. And let's see, where will they rejoin in comparison towards that train? There comes the pack that follows with Vessel, the Grandad, and Onakitsu in the background. Will they rejoin in first, second place? Oh, the Sabo misses the wall next to the pit lane, but Vessel splits him, and so does the Grandada. So those two have been split up now, and Vessel is up into P5. He takes position away from Gatsu in P7. He's stuck behind two cars now, and you know what happens as well when you're in that DRS train. It's so hard to move up the order. It's so difficult to overtake because the guys ahead have the same speed as you, having the DRS in the back. Look at this battle going in towards turn 3 here as the RP goes through, as the Aston Martin and Lou get tangled up as they both tag wheels there, and unfortunately didn't get the exit they needed. So they lost 2-3 places there. Paco now moves up into P11, Tsunami moves up into P10, and Savo goes up into P9 as well. So those two have tangled themselves up and unfortunately lost those positions as well, as these guys are all glued together in this one big DRS train in the midfield. Then Onakitsu is up there in P8 and hunted down Gatsu 2 on the new hardcore power tyres is the Savo driver. But I wonder now in this phase of the race, will Gatsu start struggling now as he had a chance to try and get his win, but unfortunately for him, he's lost it. Well, he's not lost it just yet, but like I said, it's difficult to overtake when you're DRS train. Lou is up into P12 ahead of critical damage. Maybe as well, in the next couple of laps of the Grand Prix, in about 10 laps time, he might do the cut on the guys ahead, get that track position back and move up to where he's supposed to be. The Vessel is on the back of Botti then. Let's see if he makes a move going down in towards turn 2. Will he make it turn 3, sorry? Will he play the long-term game, follow Botti for a long period of time and then overtake him, because he has track position, and like you've seen before in the races, it's so essential to have that track position over the guys behind as well, to have the best possible spots of taking the best result as well. So maybe you try to play the long game, maybe trade places with Botti and Vessel, like we've seen with Gatsu and Botti as well. Just trading places is better for your race there, to keep the position ahead of the guys ahead as well. Despite having a 3 DRS zone, it's just so difficult to make that overtake happen when you get up when the guys ahead of DRS 2.
Indeed, it is something we always see around a track like this. We're going on to lap 12. Street drivers still need to make their pit stop, their first pit stop. It's Frederick and Ivan who both started on the hards, and Alex still going strong on those mediums. So he might be going for a one stop, might be the only one to do so. But he still needs to extend by a few more laps to be able to make that work. Around for lap 14, 15 I think, then he will be able to make it work. But the gap towards the leaders behind, virtual leaders, only down to 2 seconds. Here's Tom Vessel now, closing the gap once again towards Botti, and he's going to go up the inside in towards turn 3 as the RB leaves him the space, but he's not going to go for it as he stays behind on the exit. But the better line is there for the RB on the outside and the better traction as well, so they stay as they were going on to this lap. Then the Granada and Gatsu following, with Onikitsu as Paco now gets ahead of Lou and finds himself in P11 and in a net P10 position, or inside the top 10. But here comes the Ferrari almost sending one back up the inside in towards turn 4 as there are battles going on behind as well, with Kalia fighting it out with Shiny Diamond. These two collided on the opening lap. Luckily they do not on this occasion, and it's the Kicksauber who gets ahead of the Red Bull. It's Kalia who needs to move back up the order after having to replace his front wing, losing a lot of time, a lot of positions. Finds himself now down in P15. and he's got a gap to bridge towards that DRS train up ahead, currently 2.5 seconds to the back of Critical Damage, and they've caught up to the back of Alex now, and here comes Botti. He's the first one to pass on the inside, heading up the hill towards turn 2. Vessel's going to go up the inside as well, immediately towards turn 3. It's no use for Alex to, he doesn't need to fight this. He will only cost him more of his tires at the moment. Here comes the Grandad and up the inside as well. It's going to be a matter of time before Galtsu and Onikitsune try to get past as well. He kicks over looking to the inside of turn 4. Late braking move, and the Haas driver almost turns in. A bit of contact between the two, and the Haas driver gets shuffled wide. But Galtsu gets through then up into P6, and now Onikitsune is the last remaining driver in this DRS train to get ahead, but in the most awkward position, because around this part of the track it is quite difficult to